So today we're going to take a look at OneNote versus Loop versus Copilot for project management.
He's got him up! Spiked him with a devastating pile driver!
So I work with companies and businesses and K-12s, education, medical, with across the country. And when I do that, a lot of times in my discovery, I love to use OneNote because OneNote is your traditional static notebook, but you have unlimited sections, unlimited pages. So I'll use it and I'll jump in and I'll create a section for each project. And then inside there, I'll create a page. And the first one page will be like discovery. And I make sure that it gives me the date of when it was created. So if I have to reference it back again, I have it. And then I'll add more pages when I have other meetings with that customer, right? So I keep all of my notes in one place. And whenever I move to the next customer, I move to the next section. And then I have different pages inside that. And that's how I keep myself organized between projects. And whenever I have to relate back, I jump back into it, see where I was, and add another page. If there's another project with them, I'll add another page and then continue on because it'll give me the dates. I can reference it. If I'm working on the project with them, this is also where I keep my notes because it'll keep me where credentials are or whatever I need for that company. I can also add information that I might need for the project. So maybe it's a YouTube video. Well, I'll copy the YouTube video and maybe I'll paste it in here if I need to reference that to work on something. Or if I have documentation, I'll use that. And then when it comes time for documentation, I'll jump into all my different pages and I will combine what I need to turn it into the customer facing documentation because this is all my references. So OneNote's fantastic. Again, it's static, but it's unlimited pages, it's unlimited sections, right? So I can just keep it as a long-term reference.
Looks winding up, chair shot! Oh, what a crack across the spine!
So now lately, I've been using Loop or working with Loop to try to recreate it a little bit differently. So I'll go over to Loop, and inside of Loop, now I'll create a workspace that is related to the job, right? The company I'm working with, the K-12, the medical. And inside of here, I can create pages and add my notes in here. What's nice about using Loop is the components. If I needed to share just one part of that, I don't need to copy and paste it out of it like in OneNote, right? I can just take that component that's there, and in there, I can share just that element of it, whether it's text, whether it's something like a to-do list. There's a lot of things we can add inside here, right? So I can add all these different elements. So I can create sub pages inside of there, tables if I needed a checklist. So for working with these companies or when I'm with a discovery call, right, I can throw a checklist in there of things that people are looking for, or a bulleted list. That's where I need to work on. I can add dates, call outs, things of that sort, and on and on. I can do headings and a lot of pre-configured elements, right? Task lists. Um, but I can share just that component. Inside of OneNote, I can share my OneNote. And that makes it a little more difficult because then there's all of the projects that are inside of there, all the subpages, all of the sections. Here, I can just share whether it's this page or this component, which is helpful because if I have a colleague and I've done projects before where I've put documentation and I've needed to share this with them because this point of the documentation actually deals with what they do to help that company. So I'll want to share that. In OneNote, I'm copying that out and pasting it. And if it's multiple pages, I'm just recreating it, right? So I can share it with them. But in Loop, I can just share this page with them. And then whatever I worked on, they have access to. They know the usernames that were created. They know, the steps I did because I'm documenting it all as I go. So Loop is a lot more dynamic and meant to be a lot more collaborative than OneNote. OneNote's fantastic. It's a notebook. But Loop becomes pages, becomes workbooks that I can then use to be more collaborative. And I'm seeing that's where my work is going more towards, is the collaborative element. We're taking my notes, and it's not just my notes anymore, right? Because I'm needing to collaborate with them, with parts of it. Hey, I need to share this with you, things of that sort. So that's where Loop comes in.
He's elbow drop through the table! My goodness!
So now, how does Copilot get involved in this whole scenario? Because that's the future where all of this is going, right? So when I have my Copilot chat, I can have my meeting notes, right? I can talk to my chat and have it detail out what went on as we're doing it. But then at the bottom, I have the ability to edit it in pages, right? So it opens this up over here. It's now pages. I can click on things and I can edit it, or I can add more to it if I want to, right? And this becomes a document, a page, and it's my notes. And same as Loop, similar to Loop, I can't necessarily save elements of it or share it, but I can share the entire page with somebody, right? And then I have other things I can do with it too. I can add it to a notebook. So if I have multiple pages, this is being discovery, and then I have another chat that's talking about a project and notes for the project, things of that sort. Well, I can add those pages, and then I can add that page to a notebook. And then those notebooks go in there. I haven't created one yet on here. But then that notebook combines those all up, right? So then when I'm done editing it, or if I want to save it, I can also open it in Word if I want to use it in there. It gives a lot of functionality. But now we look over here on the side by our chat, and we have pages. And I can look at all pages, and I can find the page that I worked on. So I can look at my pages for my references to my notes, right? And it becomes like the Loop dashboard or the OneNote sections. In this case, it's right here in Copilot, and I look at the pages and I find out all the pages that I did, right? That we had going on there. So that becomes one of the elements of how we can make that work. What's nice about Copilot is it can pull on the processing power of Copilot to help that communication process. So I can collaborate with it and then save it in pages and share it with others and have that as references for projects as I need it. But it's also live. I can come back to it and I can pick up that chat again from it. Plus, by using OneNote and Loop, if you have the paid version of the Copilot license, I can actually reference those inside of chats as well. So I can still stay with Loop and then reference it with a Copilot chat to get more dynamic elements out of it. Find things that are inside of that Loop workspace or that OneNote section. So Copilot kind of brings a lot to the table. It maybe isn't as organized yet as OneNote for sure, which is a very, stable kind of scenario. We're all used to a notebook kind of feel. Or Loop, which is a more dynamic feel using similar functionality and very much more collaborative. And Copilot is very interactive. Still has some elements with pages and notebooks, but the interactivity and the collaboration element, along with the note keeping, can help keep it all in line. So I'm still playing with it, trying to get an idea of how I can incorporate this better into my workflow. OneNote being my traditional workflow, Loop being my modern workflow, with Copilot being a way that I can stitch them all together, blend them together, and maybe help me out the most dynamically when I'm working with projects and coworkers and customers.
Did it! The trio stands tall, the title high in the air.